Okay, we'll go ahead and bring our meeting back into order. Our next item on our agenda is our public hearing. We're on page 2 of our packet, and at this time, I'll go ahead and open the floor for any comments for McDonald's second drive-through lane, either in favor or opposed. Okay, seeing none, with no objection, I'm going to go ahead and close our public hearing. And,
I think Ms. Leonard might have wanted to speak.
oh. Well, I tell you what, why don't we just, for the record, go ahead and just get you up on the mic then, before I close that.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. I'm in favor of the second drive-through. The space is there, and they certainly need it. It's almost dangerous now when that line is so long, so I support it.
Okay, all right, thank you for your comments there. Anyone else? Seeing none now, with no objection, I'm going to go ahead and close our public hearing at this time. Our next item, which I think we're missing, our first item is our chief, but we'll go to our admin staff report. Jerry Shiro, our business manager. No, you don't. Roberta, maybe you can just check on him. Tell him to give the Sarge to give his report if he can.
I provided a report for everyone, and I don't know if there are any questions I can answer. Just some of the highlights. First of all, again, I want to appreciate my appreciation to the town staff for all their hard work for the Christmas and holiday event. They never cease to amaze me the way they pull these things together and get them done. But there was a lot of hard work in there, and I greatly appreciate everything that they did. The only other thing is in my packet are the various reports from the engineer. Of course, the planning report is in there, and Emily is here. Touch base on our military tribute banner program, which was very successful. At the last meeting was the initiation of the program. We've received numerous comments about the program and how enthusiastic everyone is about that. And we're still having people that want to purchase banners and put them up. So I think that's great. We initiated, or the staff initiated, an ornament sale. So we have some new Christmas ornaments for the town of Haymarket. If anyone's interested, I think they turned out really nice. They're very detailed, very beautiful ornaments.
Very nice.
Very nicely done.
How many do we have left to sell?
Only 85.
85, and that number's counting down.
Counting down. Yeah, they're very popular. Yeah. I want to, the clerk arranged for the Dominion Women's Club to decorate the town hall. They did a beautiful job with it and all the roofs, so we appreciate that. We prepared a holiday newsletter and distributed it to the community, which is something I know that the council wants to see, is more communications like that. Our admin assistant, Jackie, is doing a great job in doing that and staying on top of it, so I hope everyone found it favorable. We also prepared fall and winter event folders and distributed them to the businesses. We took those around. I think the other things are mostly been covered. And of course, Emily and Roberto are here with their reports if you have any questions. The building permit report, I think, is at the diocese. It just came in Saturday, so we just got it out to you. So unless there are any other questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions for Emily or Roberto? All right. Just for the record, Roberto, operating in the black. And I guess you got the tax bills and...
Good evening, Council. Yes, we are operating positive, the black. The auditors were here, as my report stated. They were here before the Thanksgiving weekend holiday, but everything seemed in order. Nothing to bring up to your attention. And as far as the reports, we definitely are going into positive with the revenues versus the expenditures.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Roberto? All right. Thank you, sir. We're going to skip, I guess we don't have our chief to give a report, but understandably, we'll get him in. We'll have that done. Our next item would be our minutes for approval. We have on page 22 and page 23 for November 5th work session and regular scheduled meeting. So entertain a motion for both if that is what the council desires.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve our work session meeting minutes from November 5th, 2018, and our regular scheduled meeting November 5th, 2018.
I second.
Motion's been seconded by Councilman Shannon. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item is our citizens' time. This will be the chance for our citizens to speak. If you'd like, just come up to the mic there and would just give your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Ashley Gray. My business is 6601 Jefferson Street. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ashley. I own Ash Salon, like one block away. We opened just over a year ago, and the town has been amazing, and we've been so successful. Almost a little too successful that I've now outgrown the space, and I need to expand. So it was like godsend. In January, the space up front of my building opened up, and I thought I could expand into that. But unlike last time when I built the original Ash Salon with the town, I had to go through the county for all the new building inspections and permits and all that. And it was way different. I spent thousands on plans to get them rejected, and then spent thousands more modifying them to get 4 pages of like denials. And I called a meeting with the entire staff of like the Prince William County, like the engineering, the architecture, the plumbing, electrical, everything. And it was just like blah, 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 like a million things that I needed to do. And looking at it, I was already at like over $100,000 before I even were to start construction. So I pulled the plug. I didn't think it was like a smart business decision to do it. So I have to say it was like night and day working with the town before when I'd come in and see Emily's face, and like everyone was excited to have my business. And I went into the county. It's this huge place in Woodbridge. No one knows who I am. They're like, where's Haymarket? And I'm like, it shouldn't be like this. I feel like there's so many cool old buildings here that are sitting empty that we could do something with. And I feel like I don't know how people are going to do it unless they just have millions of dollars to update these buildings. I just want to know why we don't have a building inspector here anymore and why I'm having to go to the county. I talked to the lady on the other side of me that has the polished pooch, and she said she would actually be willing to move up front for me because a lot of the issue was handicap accessibility. And if I went to her space, it wouldn't be upstairs, and that would be a lot easier of a process. So I know she said she would do it, but I'd have to pay for her planning and all that. And I'm just like, at this point, very discouraged to go through the county again. And I'm like, what am I looking at? Like at least $10,000 of plans just to move her up front. And she doesn't want to do a lot of construction. I'm willing to spend that money on her space if I took over that, because I know that I could make it back. But going to the front just didn't make sense for me, trying to spend all that money to only end up gaining like 400 to 500 square feet by the time you put in the ramp and all the stuff that they wanted me to do. So that's where I'm at. And I just want you guys to help me.
We appreciate your comments, and we'll definitely work with staff to maybe have a meeting with you to see what, and understand the problems. And just on a side question, has the landlord or the owner of the building has been very cooperative as far as
I mean,
what they refer to as tenant improvements to be able to improve it?
I did all my tenant improvements to begin with. I mean, part of me understands, because I'm like, why wouldn't she just rent it to someone that puts like a desk in there and calls it a day? I want to make it amazing and do all these things.
Okay, all right.
And I get it, but no, I wish I would get a little bit more from her. She's all about me moving Tracy up front, though, because I'm like, look, if I did this, I'd sign a 10-year, because I know I could double the square footage, double the employees, like it. So,
Understood.
but she probably won't pay for anything.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely arrange a meeting to see what we can do to help.
Okay.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you for your comments there. Anybody else would like to speak during citizens' time? I understand you might have had a problem getting here this evening for some reason.
A little bit. Just wasn't sure what was happening. I drove all the way back from Williamsburg to get here for this meeting, and I thought, what is going on? They aren't going to have one. Dottie Leonard again, 14801 Washington Street. I just want to reiterate on behalf of the citizens for the betterment and harmony of Haymarket and Western Prince William County that the people of Western Prince William County have to go to the county anyway, but the people of the town of Haymarket have not for over 200 years. And I agree with the applicant who just begged for your mercy. I want to, on behalf of the citizens group, beg for your mercy to reconsider that. There's no way that it isn't possible to get a competent building inspector in this town. So if there's a way to do it, then we should do it. Our citizens shouldn't be having to go to the county, and they know where Haymarket is now because I told them about 2 weeks ago. I was there to speak on a project they had brought up that was very close to my heart, and I don't go to the county hardly ever, but I told them that I had come down from the mountain to speak against that project that they had brought up, and it was something that I'm a pro-life person, and it was something that they brought up that could have been construed as not being pro-life, and I knew that they weren't. And by the time they looked at it and about 50 other people spoke against it, they realized they had made a mistake. But I'm just saying I had to let them know. I said, in case you all don't know where Haymarket is, it's at the base of the first mountain after you leave Washington, D.C., and the whole room broke out in laughter, including the entire Board of Supervisors. But it is absolutely the truth. Sometimes I feel like we're so far out here because that they may not even know we exist, and yet I know they do, and they care about us, and our police departments interchange. But for us to have to go 45 minutes down there and to have to repeatedly keep going and going and going, I've heard a lot of people complain, and a lot of people say it's costing them too much money. So I just want to be supportive of her.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for your comments there. Any further citizens' comments? Seeing none, we're going to go on to our action items. Chief, I'm sorry, here to here. We'll let you, things kind of quiet down outside a little bit?
Still going crazy.
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah.
Any questions on the statistics for the month of November? Okay, I just want to go over some things that the police department did this month. We did our firearms training and recertification. We purchased in last budget cycle the AR-15s for the vehicles. We did the training for those, all the DCGS requirements, and did a range day for it. They are now in the vehicles and on the streets. We had Ethan's birthday party a couple weeks ago where the police department went and picked him up and took him for ice cream. We stopped traffic and all the lights and let him go through like he was the president. So he was really happy. As you can see tonight, the crowd was really behind it. We did a taser training recert. Officer Gregory is our taser instructor. He did a recert for our officers plus officers from Middleburg, Occoquan, and Remington came here so that he could teach them. Jake did a women's self-defense class that was great. We raised over $700 to go toward the AEDs in the police cars. And Corey and his wife, who's in the crowd, that Corey told me to completely embarrass her. She, for Thanksgiving, made a big Thanksgiving meal for all the officers on night shift that was with us that were working, and all the Prince William officers on the west end, and anyone else that wanted to come. So we'd like to thank them for doing that. Corey and his wife do that every year for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then last week, myself, Sergeant Shaper, and Frank, who does our videos, were invited to D.C. for a government video conference. They asked us to come talk about our lip sync video and how it has related to the community, how it's helped us relate to our community as well. So we did about an hour-long talk. We had a really good showing. It's also up on Frank's Banging Gears Facebook page, YouTube page. You can see the whole talk that we did and all the videos that we showed. We had a great response, and everyone really enjoyed it. And then we had the Christmas event. The officers responded and shut down the street for the Christmas event we did on Saturday. It was a great time. Emily and the crew did a fantastic job, like they always do. Good job, guys. As far as PD-wise, there's no issues. We brought Santa in nice and clean, and all the kids got to see him. So that's all I have as far as the month of November. Open up to any questions for you guys.
Sure. Go around the dice.
No question, just a comment. I was going to do it at the end. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
What you did tonight is what sets us apart, us as a team, you as a chief and your team, what sets us apart from others. This goes beyond words. Thank you and your staff for everything y'all have done, not only for the young man, but for the town.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Dottie.
No comments.
Okay. Mr. Perdue?
Great job.
Thank you,
know,
sir.
I never seen this crowd, So,
I think they were here for you, sir.
thank you.
No?
Chief, you're right. We could have never packed them in here.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And even, a good call of putting it outside and.
That was actually Emily suggested that, and
Yep.
we ran with it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, great event, absolutely. Vice Mayor,
Oh, I'm good.
Ms. Bond.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bond.
We're good.
Okay, great, thank you, sir. Okay, that brings us down to our action items, our work session discussion. At 6 o'clock, looks like we went through some of the items of asking whether or not we were going to, number one, continue to video, and looks like we had a consensus to go ahead and to video our work session, so that will be started. Actually, it started tonight, so when we had the consent, I went ahead and had Shelley turn on the video, and we continued the rest of the meeting. So the only thing you would have missed would just have been the call to order, and we went right into discussing of the video. Whether or not to continue work sessions and the value of them, and the time, whether or not to change the time or date of when we do have work sessions. And then also I put on there about the pay, because I think unbeknownst to a couple of the people in the dais, we didn't really realize that we were getting paid for a separate meeting for that. So out of that discussion, I think there was a consensus to have continued, or to start with the videoing, that there was consensus also, just the members present, to continue doing the work sessions. At the same time, I believe, looks like there was going to be a time conflict with some of our schedules, and that it looks like there was a consensus too of the pay to continue, or excuse me, not to pay for the meeting that we're already at, and just maybe that's in the wording of posting our meeting, that we somehow or other post it to have that result of not having separate. But out of that, there was 2 members not present, so maybe for the record, and obviously that you might have some thoughts and comments regarding those items that we did previously discuss. So
Sure. I have a few words I'd like to say. When we were newly elected town council members and discussed work sessions, I saw them as an opportunity to educate ourselves more on the agenda's topics, be informed of relevant information, and then discuss it during our meetings. What I feel the work sessions are being used for is a town council meeting before the town council meeting, where our discussion is taking place and our voting positions are basically being made known prior to the meeting. The danger of this is swaying a vote prior to the meeting based on the comments made during our work session. We should all be voting independently and based on the discussion of the agenda item during the actual meeting. This is also after hearing citizens' times and presentations made by the representative of the agenda's item, if there is someone there to make the representation.
All right.
To me, a work session is when we have an extensive agenda, or there are big items like when it's budget time, when might be big projects going on in town. You know, the staff is here all week for us to ask our questions to. They're here 5 days a week. I don't see the difference in coming at 6 o'clock and staying till 9 o'clock as opposed to starting at 7 and going till 10. We're still here for 4 hours. So for people, and it's not necessarily me, to have to rush here and do all that, and I agree with Ms. Cavazos about the discussion before the meeting. We should make our decision based on the presentations that are made to us. So that's how I feel.
So maybe with this additional discussion, maybe we could go around the dice, because it sounds like you would not be in favor of work sessions, is that what
I'm not saying ever,
Right.
but every single month, I don't think we need them.
Okay, because when we did decide this was in our September meeting. If you go back to our minutes, which you can get online, and go back to our council member time, as we went around the dais, that's where we actually decided, where Madhu had brought it up. And then actually, I think I looked to you for your discussion, and you concurred. You thought that work sessions
But
were.
again, refer to
Right.
what Ms. Cavazos said about how it's being utilized.
Right.
If we're truly, you know, working and getting things done, and, you know, there's issues, and, you know, I don't feel it's being used how it should be used.
So the items on the agenda that you feel that aren't, I mean, because that's what the work session is, just kind of being able
The
to.
past 2 work sessions we've come to, items have been added at the last minute, and that should not be done at a work session. Things added to an agenda should only be in an emergency situation or something that is eminently important to the town. We shouldn't walk in here and have things thrown at us, not literally, but just set in front of us and have no time of our own. I mean, when we get agendas, I don't know about everybody else, but I do my research at home. I read over the things and I look over them, and that is not giving us time to do that. And
Yeah, I can only remember one specific where we added, but it was for
2 times.
discussion
2
for
times.
different things. Ms. Bond?
Yes, I think it just depends on the topic, but I think what I said also applies to a lot of our closed sessions. Like we've had closed sessions and then found out that some of the things we discussed in closed sessions shouldn't have been discussed in closed sessions.
I guess I'm lost on that.
Yeah,
We certify every closed session that the things that we discuss were
We
only.
talked to Martin about it, and Martin was the one who confirmed that some of the things that we talked about should have been in open session, and so then we would bring it to open session after. But what I'm saying is that at our work sessions and in some of our closed sessions, I feel like the discussion that we're having, there's nothing wrong with it, but it should just be discussed publicly and while we're all sitting at the dais versus at the work session or privately in closed session, because then we're not being as transparent as we could be.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Day, any thoughts or? Nope. So I'm just want to make sure that, do we have a consensus to?
It's like I said, you know, I agree with the vice mayor in one respect that, you know, when it comes budget time, or if we have special things, to have the working session. I can go either way. I will tell you, I prefer to start at 6 and 7 because I get up at 4:30 in the morning. So the earlier we start, the better for me. I'm only one individual. But the reason I wanted to, if we have a working session, to do it here and on camera again. And I'm just reiterating what I said earlier, was some citizens may not be able to get here, or they don't know what we talked about earlier. And I think in a work session, we spend less time up here during that time, because I'm not going to say we formulated our decision, but because it's, I'll speak for me. My decision is not formulated during a work session. It's really up here. Yeah, I've got in my mind and everything else kind of which way I want to go and all. But I can go with or without work sessions. The things that I'm adamant about is it's one pay. I mean, it's a continuation. It's just one meeting. Number two, that it be televised, on web-based. As far as new agendas, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of a simple-minded person. I don't remember what those were or whatever the Vice Mayor brought up. But I agree that in a work session, we probably shouldn't be, it was something that nobody knew anything about. Again, I don't remember what they were. So I'm okay with the work sessions if they're needed, if we're going to do them here on the dais under the camera. So.
Okay. I wonder if this can kind of be formulated in some type of motion of a procedure that we, and see if we can get a consensus for a procedural vote of.
Mayor, I think a lot of this is already addressed by your rules of procedure that you've adopted. The adding an item to the agenda is covered in that.
Yes, yeah.
In terms of frequency, that's going to be dependent on who's putting together the agenda, which is you and the clerk, in
Right.
terms of what's needed to be done. So I think you have the sense of the council, but I don't think any formal action is
Yeah.
necessary.
Then that's
Unless
fine.
I'm-
I think we've
you
got
want
the
to.
consensus of at least the videotaping, which we're moving forward on, as we discussed earlier. Sure.
Can I just ask a question? What's the difference if we just have a little bit longer meeting than a work session? We're discussing it either way, on camera, whether you break it up into 2 sessions or do it all at once, it would be easier, I feel, I don't know.
I
If I
agree.
were a citizen, it would be easier for me to follow one recording of a meeting than have to jump back and forth between a work session and a regular meeting, and all on the same night. To me.
You're saying no work session at all, just it's all considered a meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's value of a work session. I mean, if you look at the pros and cons, and I'm not prepared tonight to go to a list of why municipalities do work sessions, but I think there is a positive value for that. And having it separate, it allows things for efficiency. I mean, it allows to go through, and we would go through the agenda and know that, okay, our minutes and this department reports, we could all put those like on a consent agenda, like Councilman Leak brought earlier this evening, that you can actually streamline your meeting itself by having a work session.
But you're still having the same discussion, just at a separate time.
I mean,
That just doesn't make sense to me. If I was just a citizen and I wanted to watch a videotape of a meeting to find out the status of an item, I would rather just watch one meeting than have back-to-back meetings on the same night and have something discussed here and then maybe something discussed later.
I guess, so your opinion changed from September on the work sessions?
No, I just didn't realize what they were going to be utilized for, and I don't agree with the way that it's been going. So,
Okay,
yes, my opinion has changed since September.
okay, all right, I think, sure, oh, I'm sorry.
So I think the item that was added to the work session, which I had asked to add, and I was able to reach 5 out of the 7 members of council at the last work session, is the police salary pay. And I would do that 11 out of 10 times, twice on Sunday.
Connor, I just want to say, you did contact me about discussing it at the work session, but we didn't talk about adding it as an agenda item that night.
I was going to touch on that one as well. So, speaking in regards to the work session, adding agenda items, I felt like it was something that I believe we had all discussed about. And due to that, but no one picking up the ball, I wanted to go ahead and pick up that ball and start running with it. With that being said, like I said again, I would add it. I would make the motion to add it to that work session again. And I think tonight is a perfect example of why our gentleman in blue deserved that, and that whole raise scenario. But furthermore, past that, I'm in favor of the video. I think it's interesting, to be blunt. I think the work sessions came about when we had a large project in town, and some feelings were wanting to be shared that did not want to be videotaped. And then now that the now that the project has come and gone, it seems like the video aspect wants to be put into play, and now the need for work sessions doesn't seem to be there. So it's interesting because I think the video would be a great idea in that aspect, for the mere fact that I think a lot of folks would probably have not said what they would have said at the work session there in September and October, because I don't think the minutes truly reflect every single thing that was stated by different council members, to be blunt. Other municipalities do work sessions, everything from small town governments to larger governments. But it's interesting to me because I've been on, this is my second term on council. Steve Shannon has come in on the back end from the other side, and Vice Mayor has been on multiple councils, and all of a sudden being an issue there, and I understand the what is being discussed, and I think to be blunt about it, I think it's because some folks wanted to use it to be able at their advantage to discuss it, and then now that those things have been discussed and has moved on, it's well, let's videotape it. And I wish it was videotaped there in the September and October meeting. But again, like I stated, I'll be the one to admit that yes, I was the one that added the police salaries to the work session, and I would do it again and again and again, because I think it was something that needed to be discussed and something that the council was all in agreement to discuss, and I have no hard feelings about that one. Yep.
Mr. Pantia, you, I think as I listened to the audio from our September, you were very much in favor, and matter of fact, the reason why we started work sessions.
I really am in favor of the work session. We can discuss the things. You know, our town has lots of potential. We have lots of things to do, and what we can bring, what we can talk to about the state legislature, those kind of things. So we can make an agenda and start early and close early. And when we have a work session, it will things item move quickly. You know, one day we were here until 1 o'clock. You know, that's why I prefer to having work session.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then with no objection, we'll, I think we've got a flavor of what we'll continue to do and what we're changing.
How about we
So-
state it for everybody?
Well, as we've heard, I think we have a consensus, or at least a majority consensus, that the pay is not going to be a double pay for that. Most of us were surprised that we were actually getting paid, so the pay was definitely there. The video is something we started tonight with our first one, so that's going to be continuing. The time, I think there's a consensus at 6 o'clock is still okay time for the council, and I think it was Councilman Leak that you brought up on the work session regarding that time, that we all sacrifice our times and get off work early to make these meetings and to get here a little early. The only reason that suggestion was because of the last two work sessions. It seems like we were having audience come in during that, so I don't think we have a flavor for changing it to 5:30. It's still at 6.
Mayor, just to clarify, that it's not that audience were coming in, it was that when folks were coming in and being noise was being made to the point to where we were losing focus at that point. It wasn't that folks were coming in, it was the mere fact that the noise that was being generated due to folks coming in for a 7 o'clock meeting was not allowed everyone to be heard in discussion. And
There was some distraction.
correct, yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not that folks were actually coming.
Yeah. So, 1, 2, 3, date change, video, the continue value. So, yeah, so I think that's be stated as such. Moving on, our bond release, we are on page 29 for the Haymarket Iceplex. Ms. Emily, I think you have a draft motion in there as well. Or any questions regarding that release, we can ask Ms. Emily at this time. Questions, and if no
Yes,
questions?
Ms. Lockhart, with regard, oh, no, that was the next one, never mind, go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
Bond release, okay, then I'll entertain the motion that,
I move the town council release a performance bond for the Haymarket Iceplex.
I second the motion.
motion and second discussion on this. Approximately how much money is this?
$248,000.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? We'll go roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes?
Blake?
Yes.
Canty?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Cavazos?
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on, our SUP 2018-009 McDonald's Special Use Permit. We're on page 34 of the packet. Ms. Lockhart, do you want to speak on this, and then we'll go around with more of the discussion that we've already had.
Okay, so on packet page 30, you will see the existing conditions with the black line overlay of the proposed conditions. This shows the added second drive-through lane ending just right before the arrow, the third arrow on Washington Street there. Some concerns that I have as the town planner are parking and traffic flow around the site. If cars are stacked in the second lane, guaranteed this means that cars are also stacked in the first lane as well. Will the vehicles parked on the north side of the lot be able to back up and successfully get out while the cars are queued up? This is a concern that we discussed at the Planning Commission meeting several times, and the engineer assured us that there was room to back up and maneuver a vehicle around. We also discussed, however, that adding the second drive-through lane gives an additional, I believe it is 5 stacking spaces, so this will also help alleviate some of the current backup that we have now that reaches out to Lee Berry Way. So, in general, the proposed addition takes some of the congestion out of there. The engineer is here tonight to address any concerns and questions. We spoke briefly in the work session regarding an easement deed bond, and Susan, there should be a document up there for you. If you look at the highlighted portion on page 2, it states that if the traffic becomes too much, the town can request with VDOT that they close the first entrance. The first entrance would be the one when you turn off Washington Street immediately onto Lee Berry. It would be the very first one there. And then entrance 2 would then become the main entrance. And that's on the very last page, Exhibit E, where that's all shown. We also discussed during the work session that if this was the case, is this issue more of a drive-through stacking issue or a traffic issue on Lee Berry and Washington? And I'll certainly let the council members who discuss that share that with you.
Okay. Do you want to go around?
Mr. Mayor, I'll reiterate what I said during the work session. I'm not opposed to this, but the downside is those first 8, if they're double stacked, those first 8 parking spots cannot back out. Cannot. They'll have less than 3 feet. It's not enough to back them out. So if it's, if the main issue, the pro is you get a few more cars, maybe 5 cars off of Lee Berry Way and maybe even off of Washington. That's important. That's really important. So I wouldn't want to be the manager or the GM of McDonald's because they're going to be catching holy heck from people that cannot back out of their parking places. I truly believe, I sit there, was it Sunday? I think the wife and I was over there and we looked, and I just purposely stopped there because the drive-through was backed up as it was. And I parked there and thought where the second stacking lane would be. Cars cannot back out. I don't care what who says, given the land, the setup now, they cannot back out.
And those are handicap spaces, are they not?
No, they're on the left, but the handicap can't back out either.
No, that's what
That's,
I'm saying.
yeah, right or left, neither one of them. But even right now, the handicap on the left side can't back out anyway. So what you're going to do is you're going to double up, and then the people on the right side can't back out either. So, you know, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying it's going to certainly, the pro is you're getting cars off of maybe Washington and Liberia Way. That's a positive. The negative is you can't get cars that back out either way. That can cause a major traffic issue just in the parking lot alone. But again, I'm not opposed to it. It's interesting because what Emily gave us earlier gives us options, but that's really something different than this SUP. So that's a different discussion, I guess. But again, I'm not opposed to it, but it is going to cause issues with people parking there and cannot back out till cars move.
Okay.
My take on it is that we're looking at the SUP on hand. First off, like I stated in the work session, I want to thank the applicant for submitting a complete SUP in regards to now this being an existing building, so much of this is already into effect, but having it defined within the SUP in regards to hours of operation, dumpster pad locations, different things from signage, stacking, the whole 9 yards, having the complete application. So I appreciate that for us to be able to make a determination off of. Again, looking at the application, and the application that we're looking at is, are we adding a second drive-through or are we not? The adding of a second drive-through would then allow to have the additional 5 stacking lanes there. And as Councilman Shannon stated, that currently part of the parking spots cannot park out or cannot back out as is when the stacking lane does impede in. Granted that those stacking and that parking and being a pad site is the responsibility thereof the property owner. When that backs onto Washington Street, being a public VDOT road, at that point is when it comes into the effect of the town, VDOT, and our safety of the citizens and residents within the town. So with that being said, I'm in favor of this, looking at it all based off its merits and adding the pretty much 5 additional stacking plants. Don't want to steal Councilman Day's thunder, but as he stated in the work session, I agreed to what he was stating, and I'll let him speak on that behalf, but I'll go ahead and state that I agree with Councilman Day.
Mr. Redu? No comment? I'm going to go to Mr. Day first, and in that way, maybe you can share your comments. That way they can hear it for the first time.
Yeah, I just was curious as if it would be possible to route, again, the, what do you call it, the example is the Chick-fil-A in Gainesville, where we could, would it be possible to eliminate those spaces and have the cars go here through the drive-through, and basically you'd have one of those little turns where you would wrap the traffic around the building.
Correct.
So instead of a Band-Aid, which is what this seems to be, because we're going to get more, the townhomes are coming in, the homes by Pizza Hut are coming in, it's going to be more and more. This seems like it's a temporary fix. But if we could wrap them around the building in order to get through the drive-through, that would eliminate this, it seems like, permanently.
Where would the
I guess-
handicap parking be?
Well, we were starting to discuss that earlier a little bit. Emily had some great ideas as to possibly closing this off, adding some spaces here, and then having the traffic come in and exit here. So this would be your entrance and your exit. You'd have to put pavement here, but again, it's just an idea where all the details would be. I don't know. But that would be planning.
So that kind of dovetails onto my question as to how many spaces are required for this particular site.
39, and they're at capacity right now. They have
Okay.
all 39 met, And that.
But they do not have a shared parking agreement with the rest of the property.
They do not have a shared parking agreement with the rest of the property. There are actually fences that have been put up to keep all of McDonald's customers from using parking in the Food Lion and Shops of Leeberry parking spaces. They're exactly at 39. That includes your ADA, and it also includes the few striped spaces up at the front where if your food's not ready yet, you can go pull off.
Pickup windows, yeah. your
Pick up, yes, thank you.
I'm not opposed to this, but I agree with Mr. J that I don't think that this is I think, like he said, it's just a
Could be a better
Band-Aid,
plan.
and there has to be a better design.
How many, because I mean, I don't disagree. How many parking places would they lose by doing it that way?
Well,
5, I think.
they would lose
You lose 7.
7, and then you, in theory,
Yeah.
again,
If you close off that entrance.
you'd add at least, I would say, 7 there.
So, I mean, it's,
You'd just be moving them.
it certainly makes sense. Then, because that's the good thing about Chick-fil-A, is you don't have to worry about the lines backing up onto Washington Street. And this would alleviate that too, give you a lot more stacking capability and everything.
Yeah, actually, we actually start now seeing the lines out on Washington Street. I'm happy to say that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
From
we-
Chick-fil-A?
They said also, I think it's on Saturday, that when I pointed it out to the manager, I said, wow, this is the first time ever, the traffic's out to Washington. He says, oh, no, on Saturday, we're dealing with that as well, so.
Now you see why I was opposed to that entry-exit
Yeah, yeah,
into the other one, into the fairgrounds.
exactly, yeah.
I will say that I think part of the added traffic was because the Gainesville Chick-fil-A was
And that was
closed.
real.
Yes,
So
correct.
that, hopefully that'll help a little.
Yeah. Obviously, the redesign would be the ultimate goal. Of course, what we're dealing with is the application in front of us, so.
Mr. Mayor, can
Yeah,
I make a
absolutely.
comment? As we discussed previously, the reciprocal easement for, a reciprocal easement agreement with, between Capital Real Property Corporation and the Shops at Haymarket LLC provides that the town of Haymarket can request that entrance 1 be closed and entrance 2 become the main entrance for this property. And it further says that this action shall be undertaken promptly upon notice from the applicable governing body and at grantee's sole cost and expense. So that would seem to be an opportunity here to coordinate that process with the discussion that you all are having about the proper approval of this request for a special use permit. If we continue this on the council's docket or agenda for 1 month, that would probably give us some time to come back to you with at least a preliminary assessment of whether this is feasible, and if not feasible, what other options there might be in order for you all to have a set of options rather than just some speculation about some good ideas.
I agree, that's because that's not putting a Band-Aid on it, that's really fixing the issue. So I agree wholeheartedly.
I agree.
Good. Looks like we might have a concurrence on that, then I don't want to table it, we'll just move it to our next month agenda
Yeah.
with staffs to, recommend, or not recommendation, to have the staff look into, there again, to make sure that this deed was recorded and that this is a good document to go on. Okay. All right. Anything further on that?
Just make sure that we all understand what the 5 things we look at when we're looking at an SUP. Does it conform with our comp plan? Does it conform with our zoning? Does it conform with surrounding properties and not have a negative effect of surrounding properties and structures? Does it affect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens in the town? And then the big one, which would most likely come into play, is does it affect pedestrian, traffic, and vehicular, I don't want to put words into it, but pretty much the way that the vehicles are traveling around. So I would say number 5 would be the one that it does come into, but then my rebuttal to that would be the current SUP already, the current drive-through already does that. So the only thing that you're doing is you're increasing stacking spaces which would then help number 5, which at that point would be, isn't that a catch-22 then? For the mere fact that you're actually increasing the amount of stacking lanes on the property. So you already have an SUP in place, which already allows a drive-through at this place. They're wanting to come in and help remedy the situation by increasing the number of lanes that can go ahead and get stacked in there, which would then, to the counter effect, would affect a few parking spots there where the second, the outermost drive-through would be expanded out to. But at the same time, you're bringing more cars off the road into the stacking lanes rather than anything else. Now, I love Councilman Day's idea in regards to possibly relocating the handicap spots and the 2 handicap spots and the 5 additional parking spots that would then have to be placed up against the wall there. But at the same time, if we're looking at it based off its merits, it's actually helping number 5 within our SUP, which we're supposed to look for, which can be found in our zoning ordinance, rather than is it actually hurting it.
Can I? comment?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say that when we look at an SUP, yes, they already have one in place, but they're asking for a different SUP now. So we consider all the merits, but if they can't utilize those parking spaces, to me, then that doesn't meet our zoning. If they don't I mean, I can put parking spaces anywhere, but if they're not utilizing them, that defeats the whole purpose of how we zone properties and have requirements for them.
I would disagree, and I'd let council, if council disagrees with me, I'd love to hear it. But in those regards, when we're looking at it and based off our zoning ordinance, we have to meet a number of regulation size. The building being 3,900 square feet, and within our zoning ordinance, it's 1 per 100 square feet for parking regulations, which then gives us our number of 39. At that point, that is met. Whether the lanes back up, that's a management issue by the property owner. We can't tell the property owner on his private property how he's got to govern and how fast he has to get cars in and out of his thing. When it comes and it affects the public welfare of the public road, being then Route 55, at that point, that's when more of our governance is coming into play. But as a governing body, I don't see how, if he's meets the requirements within the zoning ordinance, he meets the requirements within the zoning ordinance.
The purpose of the special use permit is to have some flexibility in adapting to particular conditions, and so you can impose conditions on the approval as long as they are rationally related to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And that would include circulation of traffic on the parcel and pedestrian traffic on the parcel, because obviously that's just as much of a concern to you if somebody gets hit by a car in the parking lot as it would be if they got hit crossing Lee Berry Way. So it's obviously it's a different level of issue if you're talking about backing up into Washington Street, but it's all part of the same group of legitimate governmental concerns that you have in public health, safety, and welfare.
You know, I've addressed the people that are parked that can't get out, but what I didn't address is the people that want to park that can't get there. So my question is this. I'm, I've talked myself out of supporting it as written. Could we go back and have the town planner work with the architect, the engineer, and to see if the other is feasible and table this for a month?
That's why I think what Martin suggested, right?
Yeah, that's what I'd be willing to do, because I'm certainly not, I mean, I couldn't vote on it tonight if there's a better way. And Councilman Day getting the star for the night, because that just makes sense. Now, but just to clarify, with that scenario, they're not really losing any parking?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, they
We
have
don't
to
know.
study it.
And 39, go ahead, sir.
The goal would be to move them.
Yeah, so, sorry, Jonathan Richard, Boulder Engineering. I just want to point out, I think Councilman Day's idea is great. I can't say definitively, just kind of scaling it off on a piece of paper, obviously here tonight. We're still going to be short 2 or 3 parking spaces. I don't want to say, no, it's not an option. We can certainly go back and look at it. The other thing that we are facing too is that we will now be not meeting the 85% impervious requirement. So we're being kind of forced into nonconformance from a zoning standpoint by going that route.
Correct, but you could buy back by putting landscaping and increasing your gutter, or excuse me, your curb and gutter on different avenues.
I'm not, I mean, 7 spaces is a pretty big chunk to add back, because
Wouldn't you really only be looking at your 2 handicap spaces? Because that's the only thing you're really changing from impervious surface to.
the, and maybe, let me look at this here, but we would be, because no, we would be taking green space to make up for the 7 other spaces. So we'd basically be losing 7 spaces. And I can,
Well, the spot that is on the easternmost portion, which is considered the main entrance to the property, which is currently where their flag's at that point, you're to your right at the outside eastern part of the building. That part would then be changed for ADA purposes. Those are where your handicap spots would have to go. From there, where those turn lanes are, that's previous surface already, so you're just increasing that into parking spots. Now, I understand you may be short,
we'd have to add some spaces here potentially, and here and here. So yes, that would be a wash.
But then on your most southern portion there, I mean, that's got to be what, 22? I mean, I don't have the dimensions, but that egress on the southernmost portion of your pad site there. I mean, I don't know what that dimension is, but I'm sure you could probably buy back, put in grass, whatever it may be. Just a thought.
But if the suggestion is that you're doing a full circulation, would you want a, and maybe I'm not understanding Mr. Day's options here, but to me, I think you would want almost 2 lanes here in case someone.
Yeah, you would want to keep the 2 lanes.
We couldn't come out much further to make up any green space. And again, we will go back and take a look at this. I just want to point out that there might be some shortcomings.
We just asked to look at that anyway, so we have a better feel of what could happen.
And use the template for the McDonald's at Fair Lakes. That's a good template, I think, to look at, because that has almost the exact same footprint and the exact same feel of having to take that hard right and go in and you circle around the building. But the McDonald's at Fair Lakes is a good one to look at.
And we'll certainly work with Emily, and she'll get the information to you guys. And if we need to come in for another work session or meeting, we can certainly do that.
Great, we appreciate that. All right. Okay, so we'll put this on next month's agenda to continue on and further discussion and hopefully. All right, updates, Planning Commission.
Mr. Mayor, we had really addressed 2 issues: zoning text amendment for their crematorium and the funeral home, and the definitions, we talked about that some, and then the Madison Street, the remodel of the one house. That was really the 2 things that we discussed.
Okay. So they're still working.
Am I missing something?
Yeah, the Madison Street are you talking about the house that they were redoing on the right-hand side?
Left-hand
No,
side.
this is actually
Across from
the yellow home, the 1-story home
Yeah.
on the corner. Got it, okay.
That one.
And still working on a CIP, I think, right, for the Planning Commission?
That's correct.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Some of us provided comments already. I don't know if you got comments from everyone yet or not. But we've asked everyone on the Planning Commission, please provide the comments so we can move forward with this.
Okay. Great. Questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our ARB update.
Our Architectural Review Board meeting was held on November 13th, and the Crossroads Village Center application was approved. QBE brought a application for an outdoor patio roof and an outdoor patio with brick pavers to match the exterior of their building, and that was approved. The sign plan for the McDonald's drive-through, additional drive-through, was approved. Madison Street, same home that Steve is referring to, their exterior home renovation was approved. A deck for a track court was approved, and we discussed, because of that application, giving the town planner the authority to approve applications for small items like decks and patios that are out of sight from public view, that she can approve them if they meet the guidelines and their HOA approves it.
Good. Okay. Were we working on some kind of guideline update for ARB too?
We will be,
Yeah.
actually. We're
Yeah.
having some meetings this month to discuss it. And one other thing that I forgot is we discussed at the meeting that in our future budgeting meeting here with town council, that we need to make sure that money is appropriated back to the Architectural Review Board for our Town of Haymarket signs.
All right. Questions to Ms. Cavazos? Nothing? All right, great. Thank you very much. Councilmember time, Mr. Shannon.
Doesn't have to go on the, how about those Cowboys? I'll just leave it there. But, no, I just reiterate again to Chief Lands, what a great job there. You know, I don't hesitate to say this every time I get a chance to speak, not only them, but our town staff. What a team. What a team we have here. And just it makes me proud to be a part of this. So.
Councilman Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, our condolences to the Edwards family out of Winchester for the passing of police officer Hunter Edwards. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family, the community of Winchester. You hurt, we hurt as well. And our thoughts and prayers are with them, as well as the Bush family and the passing of our 41st president, President Bush. Condolences to the Bush family, and the nation is grieving together. We have awesome events like this in our community where everyone comes out together and hangs out and celebrates and supports such awesome causes as such. We all saw tonight, but that's not where the buck stops. There is ways for folks to additionally help out, and the Sweet Julia Grace Foundation has made Ethan their Christmas rain dancer, and I urge everyone to go to the Sweet Julia Grace Foundation's Facebook page to see other ways how we can assist this family and other families in our community through this Christmas season. Emily and staff, can't thank you all enough for what a successful Christmas and holiday event that we had this past weekend. Yes, the weather wasn't as cooperating as we'd like it to be, but at the end of the day, it was still a very successful event, and I think we had a great turnout with the weather as it is. Yesterday was the start of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah, as well as Merry Christmas to everybody this month. It's a great month. Love being able to hang out with family and friends and gather together and create memories with one another. I would like to, if there is no objection, add to our work session at our next regularly scheduled meeting the discussion of a town building official. I think there are a lot of folks who come in and don't have the courage to do as Ms. Ashley did this evening, but to let us know that there are some things within the county side that do unfortunately get slipped up and have issues. And won't speak for other property owners, but I know some property owners are very discouraged that we have gone to the county. And don't get me wrong, I do agree the remedy needed to be fixed to where we went to the county for that time due to the other things that were happening within town, but that doesn't mean that it needs to stay that way, and I think that we could still actively look to find another building official for the town and how it could be funded within this next budget season. So if everyone's okay with that, I'd like to add that to the work session to discuss. If there is objections, I'd love to hear them as well. Thank you to the O'Neill family for constantly and always, year after year, going about and feeding our ladies and gentlemen Blue, going out to the Western District Station and feeding them for Thanksgiving. And I have no doubt he'll most likely be doing it with his family again for Christmas. I know it's hard enough to cook for one family, but to cook for an entire Western District Station, I can only imagine the manpower that takes, and I know probably a lot of that falls on his wife, Miss Susie, so thank you. But without that, Mayor, I have no other comments.
Okay. Mr. Bounty?
I have no comments.
I know, it seems like by the time you go around to the end, we've done it. Yes, Vice Mayor.
I would like to talk a little bit about the history of the town of Haymarket. In 1799, the Virginia Assembly chartered the town of Haymarket on the land of William Skinker. Mr. Skinker laid out an official plan for the town consisting of 140 lots and 13 streets. Haymarket was almost immediately selected as the site for the new district court to serve the counties of Fairfax, Loudoun, Fauquier, and Prince William. A courthouse, clerk's office, and jail were constructed sometime in the early 1800s, where St. Paul's Church stands today. And in its earliest years, the town thrived on business drawn to it by this court's location. In 1807, the General Assembly abolished the district court system in favor of circuit courts. The courthouse, however, continued to be the focal point of community life. From 1812, the building served a variety of purposes until it was deeded to the Episcopal Church in 1830 and consecrated as St. Paul's. On November 4th, 1862, during the Civil War, federal troops invaded the town, entering homes and taking whatever they pleased. By early the following morning, the soldiers had set the entire town ablaze. Only 4 buildings, St. Paul's and 3 small houses, one of which is Bond's house, were spared the fire, and as a result, the town remained virtually unpopulated for the remainder of the war. After the war, the town was basically swallowed up by what was known as the Gainesville District. Not until 1871 did the town of Haymarket begin to really recover from the fire. Buildings went up everywhere. There were once ashes. These new buildings, along with the few that survived the catastrophic fire, became monuments and symbols to the resiliency and community for the people of Haymarket. In 1881, the leaders of the community held an election, and the first mayor, Garrett Holtfish, and town council members Thomas Smith, John Reed, W.W. Meade, and Charles Jordan were elected. In 1893, the Baptist Church was built on the east end of town, directly across from the beautiful Jordan home, which had a beautiful wraparound porch and was surrounded by beautiful landscape grounds. This property is known today as Miss Leonard's home. At the October ARB meeting, Miss Leonard's application for demolition of this historic home was denied. She subsequently appealed to the town council at their November meeting and was hastily given approval by a 3-2 to 1 vote. The town of Haymarket has gone charging into modern times, but I would like to think that the residents of this town still hold the same values and spirit of those that resided here before us. This town survived the war and literally rose from the ashes due to the community and dedication of the residents. Most recently, people have purchased some of the properties in our great town that hold the most historical significance and unfortunately have allowed the buildings on these properties to fall into terrible disrepair. Over the years, the ARB was established to maintain our historic overlay and have painstakingly taken on that job with many challenges, but also great success. Some of those successes are some that are owned by the town, the old post office building, the Holtfish House, and the museum. The McCormick House, the log cabin, which is owned by the Cavazos family. St. Paul's Parish Hall, the Carry to Full Term House, and the St. Paul's Episcopal Church owns the Rector House as well. The Haymarket Baptist Church, the Old Tyler Elementary Pace West, which is now QBE, and Cookies and Cream structure, which Mr. Landry moved to his property, as well as the Red House Ordinary over here, and Exit Realty, and the Old Bank Building. Some of these buildings have been restored by the businesses that are currently occupying them, and some by other LLCs. My point is that we cannot simply construct modern buildings that resemble those of the eras gone by. Those old buildings that so many want to just demolish are not just buildings. They hold within them the story of our town. Generations of families were raised in these structures, the same families that had the resilience to save our town from being swallowed up permanently by the Gainesville District. Finish that?
These are the same people that raised money to build their own fire department so that the town would not burn again. In May of this year, the town participated in the Historic Walks program that was organized by Prince William County to showcase the small historic towns that lie within the county. Haymarket stood out among the other towns because we have preserved so many of the structures that are contributing resources to the history and growth of our town. If we continue to allow property owners to demolish these buildings, we are slowly erasing those things that have sustained this town for hundreds of years. The principles, values, and ideals that make Haymarket stand so far above the rest. I urge all members of this council and residents of this town to respect where this town has come from and the previous residents who fought so hard through our history to create and maintain this wonderful small town. We cannot simply look at these buildings as structures as they tell the story of our town of Haymarket. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Cavazos.
Okay. There has been some banter in previous meetings directed at the police department or the police chief during his reports, and some of the town council members during our town council meeting. And I think that we need to be cautious because this can appear disrespectful, and it is important that we are professional, especially when in session and in front of our constituents and when addressing the police. There are two, I already mentioned the ARB appropriation. The second item, which we discussed last time, is just before the budget. I want to take a look at the possibility of giving the town staff a raise at the appropriate time. So that'll be something that I'd like to look further into before our next budget session. And then the holiday event on Saturday was so beautiful. Thank you to everyone for your hard work. I already mentioned this to Shelley earlier today, but the Degrassi's ballerinas were stunning. Santa and Mrs. Claus were truly magical. Muthu's hot cocoa and ice cream were delicious, and I'm just so thankful for being able to take my daughter to these special events in our town, and you all work so hard, and it just truly shows, and everybody who comes just loves it, and it's really, really special. So I just can't thank you all enough.
Okay. Councilman Day?
I have no comments. Thank you.
All right.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I left two important points
Sure,
here.
absolutely, go ahead.
Something that was brought up to me by Sergeant Shaver there, a couple of things, and then a couple of citizens called. A couple of things are happening on Blight Drive. There will be speed limit posted, 25, because otherwise it's 35 not posted. Being residential, that is, those signs will be going up soon. The other thing is, in fact, tomorrow morning at 8:30, so Shaver, if you're here, be a couple of VDOT reps over here to talk about the turn lane and maybe restriping and making that right. So I wanted to let you know, because one of our planning commissioners talked to me specifically about the speed on Blight, and it is going to be 25. So that's all I have.
Good to hear. Closing thoughts before we go into closed session. Staff, Ms. Shelley, thank you, Ms. Emily, Jerry, and Roberto. You know, in going down this road and being up here for as long as I have, I just can't thank you all enough that you're really the glue that keeps all this together. You're here to go to that service window when people come in, and you really, I really feel like we are a well-oiled machine that's firing on all cylinders right now, and it didn't always be that way, but it's the staff, it's a professional staff through there, and as we know on the police department side with the chief, that they're the ones that are here that are making this, making it easier for us up here on the dais. But thank you all, sincerely. We have just a couple things to go into closed session about. We can go ahead and have our attorney give us the wording.
Thank you, Mayor. The motion would be to enter closed session pursuant to the Virginia Code of Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1 and A8. A1 specifically to deal with the performance evaluations of direct reports of the town council, and A8 consultation with legal counsel regarding a matter of potential litigation.
Okay. Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, just for clarification, unanimous. We'll be back shortly. Thank you. Okay, to bring us back into open session, I'll have our attorney to give us the wording.
Thank you, Mayor. And first, I'd like to correct something I said in the motion to enter closed session. I said potential litigation. What I meant to say was that we have a exposure to liability. So with that notation, please note that for the record. The motion to certify a closed session is that to each member's knowledge, only those matters lawfully exempted from open meeting discussion under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only those items identified in the motion preceding the closed session were heard or considered by the council during that closed session.
So moved.
Roll call vote.
Oh, you didn't get a second yet.
Apologies.
Second?
Second, there you go. Roll call vote.
Shannon.
Yes?
Lee.
Yes.
Anthe.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Vassos. Yes. Day.
Yes.
All right, great. Can we have a motion to come out of closed session?
Yes, sir. The form of that motion would be that the council approve salary increases for the planner, clerk, and treasurer as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second by Councilman Day. Sorry, Mr. Shannon, you have
Had a
water in your
mouthful,
mouth.
but thank you. All right.
Please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Yes.
Anthe.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Vassos. Yes. Day.
Okay, and I think we're up to
Motion to adjourn?
the motion to adjourn to make sure we didn't miss anything.
All right, got it. Motion to adjourn.
I have to recognize you first. Just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. I think we're good, right? I'm looking at staff. All right, good. All right. Motion was made by Vice Mayor and seconded by Councilman Shannon.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much.
When you think too much, there's always something.
Yeah.